Imagine entering a gorgeous mansion that was once the glittering stage for American Pickers' biggest performer, Mike Wolfe. However, there is a terrible secret hidden deep within those lavish walls that is just waiting to be discovered. On a somber morning, an FBI task group breaks into the house and destroys the old wooden floors on the second floor, which used to be Wolfe's personal haven. What they find shocks the globe and leaves even the most experienced investigators stunned. Priceless relics taken from European museums shine like cursed diamonds in a secret underground cavern. That's not all, though. Among the rubble lies an old, dust-covered journal that belonged to Wolfe's lifelong partner, Frank Fritz, who inexplicably disappeared. Chilling assumptions are revealed by the weak handwriting inside. It's possible that Wolfe got caught up in a murky artifact trafficking organization. Fritz, the only one with the courage to inquire, could feel the icy threat looming over him. Could the truth have been concealed in this hidden room? What was it that Fritz found out cost him everything? And could Mike Wolfe, the adored star of a popular television program, actually be the architect of a sinister plot? Prepare yourself, because you will be riveted to the screen while reading this story. There is a mystery waiting to be solved every second. Keep an eye out. However, the underground room is only one part of the maelstrom of secrets surrounding Mike Wolfe's mansion. Like a cursed book long sealed shut, Wolfe's terrible past slowly emerges as the light of truth starts to shine through. Wolfe was a ghost before he became the well-known character on American Pickers, wandering in society's shadows. From 1992 until 1997, he wandered between isolated communities after quitting school at the age of 16. The files of the Collector's Circle, an infamous covert group reportedly responsible for the abduction of several indigenous cultural treasures across the US-Canada border, contain a brief mention of him. These objects, which range from antique ceremonial jewels to finely crafted wooden figurines, appear to disappear without a trace. Additionally, Wolfe may have played a significant role in the hazy series of events with his enigmatic smirk. Although no official charges were ever brought against him, the mystery surrounding him is only increased by the fact that he abruptly vanished from all public records after 1997. Wolfe resurfaced as the nostalgic figure with the release of American Pickers. However, the show has now been revealed to be a fake, hiding shady activities behind its rustic beauty. Archaeologists and collectors have come out to accuse Wolfe of trafficking relics stolen from prominent institutions in addition to fabricating artifacts to enhance his image. Once praised on the show as a lost gem, an 18th-century ceramic vase was later reported stolen by Interpol from a French museum. Rumors of clandestine meetings with transnational traffickers. The public is in shock as a result of cargo departing ports in the middle of the night and fake documentation used to prove the provenance of artifacts. Is Wolfe the head of a global criminal organization or just a relic hunter? Who will fall prey to this perilous game next, and what more secrets are hidden in his past? The rumors of Mike Wolfe's dubious activities were only the beginning of a terrible storm that was gradually coming to light. The FBI discovered that Wolfe's mansion was more than just a haven for a renegade relic hunter as they learned more about the collector's inner circle and the fake treasures shown on American television. It served as the headquarters of a vast international criminal organization. Horrible truths had been hidden for years beneath the shining oak floorboards of the mansion. A steel door without a handle or keyhole was implanted in the solid wall beneath the second story, which the task force peeled through with tight eyes and labored breaths. The door finally creaked open after over an hour of struggling with its antiquated locking system, sending a chilly, humid gust of air that scorched their faces with the smell of charred ash. In front of them was a room made of dark stone. Like the grave of a long-forgotten medieval secret, it was constructed with arched ceilings and walls covered in moss, evoking the manner of ancient European catacombs. The vault, which was only 10 square meters in size, contained a treasure trove that made even the most experienced detectives shudder. Dozens of precious items, elaborately carved wooden figurines from Eastern Europe, stone reliefs with unintelligible inscriptions, and a huge metal chest with 2 layers of clever mechanical locks, as though protecting a truth too dangerous to reveal, were scattered among the darkness. A picture frame, face down, covered in thick dust and smeared with dried blood, however, was what struck the audience into quiet. Flipping it over showed a smiling picture of Frank Fritz from an American Pickers show 5 years prior. It now appeared to be a message from the afterlife. A weird symbol, consisting of twin spirals encircling a single eye, was painted on the opposite wall in an unidentified substance. It flickered under the illumination as though it were observing their every action. Later, experts would conclude that the symbol was not ornamental. It might have been an indication of a covert organization associated with sinister customs or long-forgotten religious beliefs. The trauma, however, did not end there. A hand-drawn scroll composed of leather parchment and blue ink was placed beside a charred wooden box carved with ancient runic symbols in a dim corner of the room. It showed a map that led to places that aren't included in any database. The enigma was further complicated by a cylindrical copper tube that had a complex mechanical lock that clicked menacingly when touched. The most unsettling of all was a tiny iron cage that held the skeleton remains of a bird species that had never been seen before. Its wings were shattered, and tiny gemstones embedded in its head made archaeologists wonder, was this a relic from a vanished civilization that had been erased from human memory? Each item had tags from museums in Europe or matched items on Interpol's stolen cultural treasure list. However, it appears that their actual beginnings go well beyond what the contemporary society can account for. The subterranean room served as more than just an item storage area. It was indisputable evidence of a perilous illicit market network that was rocking America to its foundations. American Pickers were the ideal cover for Mike Wolfe's sophisticated criminal enterprise. Unchecked appraisals were made possible by e-commerce platforms operated by his sham firms. Issued fake digital certificates and changed provenance histories. Even seasoned professionals were misled by their precision. Containers disguised as antique furniture were used to transport shipments of stolen artifacts from famous museums in Paris, Rome, and Berlin through international seaports. These relics were transformed into authentic treasures that were shown on national television via a secret network of middlemen that included underground auction houses in Asia and smugglers from Eastern Europe. According to an FBI assessment, this technique has been used to smuggle at least 300 artifacts worth billions of dollars over the last 10 years, making it one of the biggest cultural smuggling schemes in modern history. The deliberate elimination of Frank Fritz, who was once the lifeblood of American Pickers, astounded investigators even more. Fritz wasn't simply pushed out of the spotlight by Wolfe. He produced a flawless digital image of his former co-host using artificial intelligence. An AI model was trained using hundreds of hours of archival video to mimic Fritz's speech, body language, and distinctive smile. The virtual Fritz was shown laughing, arguing, and narrating hitherto unheard anecdotes that were indistinguishable from the real Fritz in a 12-minute test video that was recovered from Wolfe's hard drive. Wolfe's strategy was to broadcast these previously unreleased episodes without anyone noticing that the genuine Fritz was no longer there. Even more terrifyingly, Wolfe had registered the name Frank Fritz as a trademark with the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office, so transforming him into a media asset with the rights to his voice, image, and catchphrases. Identity theft was only one aspect of this. It was a deliberate effort to remove a man from the real world and substitute a digital ghost for him. However, the deceit was more profound. On Wolfe's hard disk, a heavily encrypted file named FF2023 Master described a methodical strategy to maintain the perfect picture of American Pickers while Fritz and others were covertly eliminated. Charts of behavior. To make the virtual Fritz last forever on screen, 3D models and synthesized speech samples were created. One especially unsettling audio sample, which lasted only 60 seconds, showed Wolfe's voice over a roaring wind. "I lose it everything if he speaks. You understand? Everything." The FBI team shivered as the video ended with a scathing chuckle that was as icy and sharp as a sword. This was more than just a criminal organization. It was a memory manipulation device, a system created to rewrite reality, twist history, and use actual people as tools for financial gain. Mike Wolfe's underground enterprise and the secret basement rocked America to its foundation, leaving one unanswered issue. Have we ever seen anything that is real on screen? Once the lifeblood of American Pickers, Frank Fritz is now but a bloodstained ghost in a lost photograph. Furthermore, Wolfe, the formerly adored TV personality, has been exposed as a master of deceit. The intrigue doesn't stop there, though. A deeper, more horrifying layer of secrets that are just waiting to be revealed is suggested by the double spiral sign, the unidentified objects, and Wolfe's total silence throughout FBI questioning. Is this the end? Maybe the start of a more sinister nightmare. As Frank Fritz's dark destiny is revealed by the harsh light of reality, the horror surrounding Mike Wolfe's criminal empire only gets worse. In addition to exposing stolen artifacts, the stone chamber beneath Wolfe's house also revealed a terrifying mystery. What was Fritz's actual fate? In one of Wolfe's storage lockers, his journal was found inside an old wooden suitcase with the label FF. Concludes suddenly on July 14, 2022, 3 days before Wolfe made the public announcement that Fritz would be leaving the show due to health issues. Written in shaky black ink, the last entries resembled a final testament. This notebook is the reason if something were to happen to me. Fritz has been entirely absent from the public consciousness ever since that day. His picture, no social media posts, no appearances. It wasn't merely a hint when it was discovered face down and covered with dried blood in the secret cellar. It was an omen from the afterlife. Investigators were horrified and faced with the most frightening question of all. Is Fritz still alive? Or did a secret he was never supposed to reveal quiet him? The mystery surrounding Fritz's disappearance was only made thicker by hints found in his journal. He wrote about shady encounters between Wolfe and unidentified people, finding secret shipments at off-schedule shooting locations, and a number of items that were never intended for television. The FBI took notice of one entry in particular right away. Fritz told of a night spent at Wolfe's house. The sound of creaking wood and whispering from the second floor woke him. He inquired about it, but Wolfe dismissed it with a sly smile. The old flooring, probably. Fritz, however, didn't believe it. He took a covert photo of one box containing objects labeled by the International Museum, noted the serial numbers, and filed them in his journal. His parting remarks were eerie. He is aware of my presence. My phone is behaving oddly. I also noticed his automobile parked outside my house yesterday night. These indicators did not just indicate that a man was in danger. They suggested that Fritz might have been under surveillance. Singled out and eventually silenced. A terrifying conspiracy was further illuminated by evidence found on Mike Wolfe's personal hard disk. The FBI discovered a careful strategy inside an encrypted folder called FF 2023 Master that was intended to protect Wolfe's reputation even in the event that Frank Fritz were completely removed. High-resolution 3D representations of Fritz's face were included in the files. Artificial intelligence, AI, generated voice recordings and behavioral charts that examine his speech, smiles, and reactions during hundreds of American Pickers episodes. A wholly synthetic Fritz was shown laughing, joking, and telling stories with unnerving realism in a 12-minute test video. Even specialists found it difficult to believe it wasn't real. However, a 60-second audio sample of Wolfe's voice was the most unsettling discovery. Continued against a backdrop of roaring wind. I'll lose everything if he speaks. Do you hear me? Everything. An ominous indication that Wolfe might have done anything to keep his secrets was the frigid, hollow laugh that sliced through like a dagger at the conclusion. A cooling line was one of the risk elimination procedures mentioned in another text source. There is no need for FF beyond July 2022. Fritz's journal abruptly ended on that date, adding credence to the idea that his disappearance was not at all coincidental. However, Wolfe's brutality went beyond simply wiping Fritz out of existence. He went one step further and registered the name Frank Fritz as a trademark with the USPTO, citing his image, voice, and favorite catchphrases as media assets. This action, which was completed within a few weeks after Fritz's departure from the show, went beyond simple identity theft. It was an effort to make a guy into a perpetual source of income, even when he wasn't there. According to an email that was found from the hard drive, Wolfe had engaged a group of unnamed engineers to develop the AI technology so that special episodes starring Fritz could be produced without the real man's assistance. The FBI started to believe that Fritz had been intimidated or worse before going missing after seeing the blood-stained photograph discovered in the secret room. Although it was dramatic, Wolfe's legal collapse did little to calm the mounting anxiety. 12 federal charges, including wire fraud, possessing stolen cultural property, and using someone else's identity for commercial purposes without authorization, led to his conviction. Wolfe sat still throughout the first 16 hours of his interrogation. He didn't request legal counsel. Nothing was denied by him. On a notepad, he merely penned a single, terrifying sentence. Not all people are worthy of being remembered. The public was split by his silence. It was interpreted by some as a confession of guilt. Others were worried that he was hiding a more sinister secret. Even though Wolfe is incarcerated, the investigation is still ongoing. International participants connected to his smuggling ring are now the focus of federal attention. At least 3 prominent members of the international auction sector have been called in for interrogation, according to an internal FBI report. Additionally, a covert warehouse in Eastern Europe is presently being searched, which may reveal even more terrifying facts. This story has become a never-ending nightmare due to Frank Fritz's disappearance, the horrifying evidence discovered in his journal, the blood-stained photo, and Mike Wolfe's hard drive. Was Fritz the victim of a carefully planned scheme, or did he actually depart for medical reasons? Wolfe's icy voice captured on tape, the bloodied photo, and the last shaky phrase in his notebook all seem like ragged pieces of an incomplete puzzle. One question remains as America struggles with the loss of a beloved television star. Fritz, where are you? And what was the secret so perilous that it cost him his life? Mike Wolfe's conviction and Frank Fritz's unexplained disappearance might just be the start of a more complex maze with an unknown exit. The last hints cast the story's shadows deeper beneath the mansion's black stone floor. On the bunker wall, a sign of a double spiral around a single eye drawn in an odd substance would indicate a covert organization that is perhaps far more potent and extensive than Wolfe himself. A copper tube with a clicking mechanical lock, a leather scroll inscribed with a map to places that don't exist, a burned wooden box carved with runes, and untraceable artifacts found inside don't match any known global database. Experts are becoming concerned that these could be the keys to a larger, covert criminal network. Then there is the message at the bottom of the wall, carved in chalk beneath dust accumulations. Even when no one is looking, everything goes on. An eerie query, a voice from the invisible. What is still going on in the dark, and who authored it? Was Wolfe just a piece in a much bigger puzzle? Or did he conceal something considerably more heinous than what the FBI has discovered? There is more to the tale of Wolfe and Fritz than the demise of a television franchise. It serves as a terrifying cautionary tale about the manipulation of memory, identity, and truth itself. The people we see on film and the tales we believe to be true could be deceptive machines designed to hide crimes and destroy lives. The mystery of Fritz's destiny, the spiral sign, and the inexplicable relics remain after the curtain has fallen, pushing us to examine the shadows of what we once believed to be true.